ask my wife to tell you a little bit about our family, just so that you can know a little bit of that, and then we'll dive into our story.
Okay, good morning. My name is Grace. We have 3 children. Our eldest is a boy, he's 14, his name is Amani. And then we have twin girls who just turned 12, Sifa and Neema. And so when making the transition from Kenya to Malawi, it means we were not alone. So we also had the children coming along with us. And so as we share, we will hopefully also share intercultural missions, also just from the perspective of a family. I'm saying this because earlier we have lived in Nigeria, but that time we were single and the logistics were very different. Everything was very different when it's just you and your suitcase and you can go wherever the Lord sends you. So Robert and I have been married for 16 years this November, and it has been a joy to serve together. We met in the university many years ago, and from that time then we became friends and began to serve the Lord together in life ministry after campus. Yeah.
Okay, great. So now you know a little bit about us, and so we intend to share for maybe the next maybe 25, 30 minutes. And then we hope to have a few minutes. We hope to have a few minutes of question and answer. So if you do have some questions, you can please be taking note of those, and then we'll address them at the end of our time. So the other year in 2018, we got to learn, and sorry, I'm going to...
We're changing that here. I'll beg you to just 1 minute for that. Okay, we're in a new gadget now. I hope you can see us and hear us clearly.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. So in 2018, we got to hear that there was an opportunity for us to move to Malawi to serve together with the same organization that we serve with, Life Ministry, Campus Crusade for Christ. But the ministry here in Malawi needed someone to take over the role of national team leader. And so that opportunity was shared with us. And as we considered it, it found us at a place where we were ready for a new challenge. So we'd been serving in Kenya, like Justice said, and we were prepared for a new assignment, a new challenge. And so we embraced it. We said yes to moving over to Malawi. And so, like Grace has said, moving a family is not a simple task. You know that even just moving from one house to another in Nairobi can be a big task. So moving to another city in Kenya can be a really big challenge. So you can imagine what it's like moving across borders. So we were aware that it was going to take several months of preparation for us to be able to move. And so we got down to it. And so one of the things we did was to begin to find out, are there any people we know who have lived in Malawi or who live in Malawi that can give us some information that will help us to prepare for the journey? So thankfully, there happened to be a couple that were serving as missionaries in Malawi who were visiting in Kenya at that time, and we got to spend time with them. And so they had lived in Malawi for a few years, and their experience in Malawi was a very good one. So they shared with us and said they really love Malawi. They think it's a beautiful country. If they even have the opportunity, they will likely settle here in Malawi. So these are Kenyans saying that. And so the first stories we had about Malawi were very wonderful stories, beautiful country, wonderful people, a place that you would love to live and possibly even settle down long term. But after that, we got to interact with other people who had some different experiences about Malawi. So maybe my wife can talk about one or two of them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, after the positive people, we met some naysayers, and they said some horrible things, horrible things that made me think, where is this we are going with all our children? Okay, so some of them said that there are no hospitals there. People still boil injections. When was the last time you saw someone boiling an injection in these HIV days? And also just some very, very negative things that people said. The people said about this place, it is very backward. It is where Kenya was in the 80s. I don't know how old you are now, but in the 80s, where were we? And so just a lot of very, very negative feedback about this place, and that got especially me, the mother in me, quite scared. Where is this we are going? Has the Lord really called us? Yes, he has called us. And so that meant, if the Lord has called us, we will go. Whatever people eat there, we will eat. If we have to carry our own injections, we will carry. Okay, but the truth is, when we came for our first trip, we did a first visit just to check out the place. I had my fingers crossed, and I was telling God, please help me fall in love with this place, because I don't want to go to a place that I don't like. I don't have to be stuck there. But it's amazing that as soon as the plane started to land, oh dear, I began to just like the place. It's green and beautiful. The people are warm and friendly. It's as if all the things that we had been told were not true. And if they are true, it's to a very small extent. It's the way someone can describe Kenya from the viewpoint of the tiniest, most remote village, which is not right, or someone could define Nairobi by Mathare or Kibera, which is not the real picture. And so it was just really good being here. Of course, there was God's work in my heart, in our hearts, but also just coming here and just realizing, oh, it's just like any other place in Africa. And places have their challenges. Every place has its different challenges. Your Ushago has its challenges, the other Ushago has, and so it's a mixed basket. And so we came here, and we love the weather, for starters. Okay, it's not too extreme. It's not too hot, not too cold, though it's slightly below the equator, but we don't experience extreme winters or extreme summers, which is okay for us. The people are very friendly. It's the first thing that greets you at the airport. Even the police smile at you. They want to greet, and make you feel welcome. And indeed, Malawi is called the warm heart of Africa, and for sure we experienced that warm heart of Africa, and we continue to experience it. Also, the food is not too different from what we eat at home. There is ugali, just that it's lighter, it's sima. There is more water than the flour, which for my Luya husband here, we have to to get used to. But it's a good thing to know, oh, if you need your unga, you can get it, whichever grade, whether you want the Jogo grade or Hostess or the one for Kisiagi, they are all here, plus all our vegetables. So we did feel very at home in that case. But when someone shows you a picture of food in this place, they will mostly show you rats. Okay, I don't know if you've seen that. That's usually when they show you a photo of food in Malawi, they show you rats on a stick like mshkaki. It's not like that's what we have for breakfast and dinner and lunch every day. So anyway, we love the food. Of course, there are a few differences, and we will be talking about the differences, but just some of the similarities. And we were happy to learn that anything that we need, what you'd need to live a normal life, you can find here. No, they don't boil injections. Whoever saw them boiling, I don't know where he saw that. And we have also enjoyed a slower pace of life. Hakuna jam. Like when I was telling just as we are just about to get to the office, it really was just 3 minutes away from our house to the office. A richer quality of life for our children. They have a bigger compound. They can cycle to town. Maybe in that sense, it's true that we are where Kenya was in the 80s and 90s, where you and your friends could jump onto a bike and ride to town and come back. So in a sense, we have enjoyed some of those things. Yeah.
And so those are things we have really enjoyed. And like I mentioned, our responsibility here is to lead Life Ministry Malawi, which has been a very exciting new ministry opportunity. We have gotten opportunities to do a lot more, and things that we really have had the opportunity to make a difference, to be involved in very significant ministry. So we are very excited about the ministry opportunities that we have gotten because of the move here to Malawi. Well, those are some of the similarities and what we have enjoyed, but some of the differences. The first one we noticed is that, when we visited, we popped into a supermarket here in Lilongwe, and it was on a Sunday. Was it a Saturday? It was a Saturday, and the supermarket closed at 5 p.m. Okay, then we got to learn that on Sunday, the supermarkets close at 1 p.m. Now, you know, that was a big shock, because for me in Kasarani, I would go to the supermarket up to 10 p.m. Okay, so just a very different mode of operation in terms of just how the economy works. The food, my wife has said it is largely similar, but there's also quite a bit of adventure in there. So when we visited that time, we were served a very nice meal for lunch. You know, there was chicken and there was some sima in there, but there was a vegetable that we really enjoyed. So at the end of the meal, we asked, what was that vegetable that you served us? And we were told that vegetable is called chisoso. Now, for those of you that don't understand Greek, chisoso is the local name for blackjack. So, kumbe blackjack ni mboga. Little did we know. And over the last several months, well, it's now a year and a half, we have, you know, adventured with very many more vegetables that we are not very used to in Kenya, you know, like cassava leaves and, you know, sweet potato leaves, and, you know, maybe my wife can add some other names there. Okay, so we did experience some differences as far as that is concerned. With regards to the rites of passage, the way weddings are done here and the way funerals are done is very interesting. Let me talk about the funerals, and my wife will talk about the weddings. So first of all, when someone passes on here, they are buried the next day.
And it's not because of COVID, this is just the normal.
Okay, and so we remember this time when we were told that our neighbor has passed on, and we were planning to visit them the following day so that we can condole with the family. That following day, we were told that the person was actually buried the night of the same day. Okay, well, it happened that this also happened to be a Muslim, so everything was done a lot faster, you know. So the person passed on during the day. In the early hours of the night, you know, maybe 3 a.m., 4 a.m., the person had actually been buried. We had absolutely no opportunity to go and condole with the family because funerals typically happen the following day. And so one of the things employers struggle with is many times you'll receive a text in the morning, and this will be one of your employees telling you, sorry, I'm not coming to work today. My relative passed on yesterday night. We are burying them today. Okay. But you know, the other thing that surprised us is how seriously funerals are taken in the community. So when someone has passed on the road, you will see some leaves that are supposed to tell you that someone has passed on. And so we got to learn that when you see those leaves, if you're driving, you need to slow down. If you're cycling, you actually need to get off your bike. And when you're passing by the place where, outside the home of someone who has passed on, you actually get off your bike and you walk slowly through that part. And when you're done, you get back onto your bike and you proceed with your journey. And so we have a gentleman who helps us around the home. And so he cycles from his home to where we stay. And so on this one morning, he was passing by. And there were some of these leaves on one of the roads, but he probably didn't really notice clearly that, you know, there are leaves here denoting that someone has passed on. And so he needs to do the necessary. So he continued cycling on. So what happened is the young men around there actually got hold of him and told him, hey, don't you realize what you have just done? And he was actually taken to the chief and he was fined. Okay. The reason, he did not get off his bike, walk slowly past the home that had a bereaved person. That was a very serious offense. So that day he arrived to work late, and that was the issue. Okay, so it's very interesting just seeing how different things are done in different parts of the world. I'm sure many of you are keen to hear about the weddings. Over to my wife now.
Okay, so the weddings are more typical in terms of a Western wedding where the bride wears a white gown and the groom wears a suit, and you have the bridal party. But the weddings here start very early. Okay, we are an early culture generally. People start work at 7:30, and so a wedding service is at 7:30 a.m. in church. And so you go to the wedding, and then after that, everyone goes back to their homes or wherever. Then we meet again in the afternoon for a reception, and we are not meeting to eat. That reception is for giving gifts and showering the bride and groom with money. Okay, and so for a Kenyan, that's a culture shock right there, because you know, when we go for weddings, we go knowing we will stay and eat properly and dance and leave. But here, we go for the church part, then scatter. You go to your home and eat, then we come back, and you change your money into small denominations, maybe very small denominations. So when it's your turn to give a gift, then you stand and dance and really just splash the money. I don't know if you've seen it. It's sort of related to the Nigerian weddings where people shower the couple with money. And then, so that was quite odd for us, who are used to put money in an envelope. In fact, when we go for weddings, you're sort of looking around for an usher to give you an envelope. Nothing. You go there and get change and dance and shower. So that has been very interesting to be part of. Yeah.
Okay, so those of you that would like to hear a few more stories, you can ask some more specific questions when we get to the section of question and answers. Mm-hmm. But let's go ahead and share with you some principles that will help you to be effective when ministering to people across cultures. And like we said, sometimes for you to cross cultures, you don't even need to leave your city. Many of our cities today have become, pretty cosmopolitan. I remember before we left Kasarani, some Chinese had just moved into our estate. Okay, and so we have people from Asia, living in our estates in Nairobi. We have people from other countries in Africa, and so crossing cultures, you may not even need to travel. And so what is it that will help us to be effective as we minister across different cultures? The first thing that we learned, that we were taught and we have found extremely helpful in ministering to people of a culture that is different from ours, is the statement that says, it is not wrong, it is just different. Okay? It is not wrong, it is just different. Okay, so for those that are writing, that's your principle number one. So it has been very helpful for us to know that different people do things differently, and it is important to understand that what they're doing is not wrong. Okay? Now, the first impression you get when you see someone doing something in a way that is different from yours is for you to assume that they are wrong and you are right. But that is not true. Okay? They just have a different way of doing it. And so understanding that really helps you to be able to make the adjustments that you need to make going forward. So there is no rule book that says weddings must start at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock like we do in Kenya. Mm-hmm. We have come to learn that, oh, weddings can start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that is absolutely okay. Okay, and the fact that you don't serve your guests food for, during your wedding event is not wrong. It's just a different way of doing it. I mean, after all, we all have food in our homes. We don't eat in the weddings because we don't have food. So that's, and so we do our weddings early in the morning. We go back home, have lunch. And when we come back to the reception, we are ready to dance and to shower the people, with money. So it's not wrong, it's just different. Okay?
Maybe I should also add that when we go for funerals, it's expected that the women will have their wrappers on, sort of like a lesso, but it's more of a kitenge wrapper. I have to carry my wrapper and I have to sit on the floor. It doesn't matter your status or what in life. You just humbly wrap yourself up and sit on the ground, and then we eat sima together. It's just our way of mourning. A big bowl of sima with some of the we call it relish. I'm even forgetting what the Kenyan name is. Anyway, the kitoweo. Okay, so whether it's beans or meat or veggies, but we are all seated, a group of 5-6 women, as we dip into this pot, and just eat together. And that's seen as a very friendly, when you do that, you're condoling with the people that have passed on. You're saying we are together in this thing, okay, which we don't do back home, but it is not wrong, it is just different.
Mm-hmm. We also are surprised at how the 1 hour time difference just really makes a world of a difference. So the sun here rises very early. So 5:30 a.m. It's very, very bright. Mm-hmm. And so, it's a very early rising culture. And so, people begin working by 7:30. Mm-hmm. Now, what is interesting is that lunchtime is there for 12 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock. So on this one, the Kenyans are still struggling because to us, lunch is 1 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And so, your early morning is 8 to 10. So when you're setting meetings, if you want an early morning meeting, you say, 8 to 10 is an early morning meeting. 11 to 1 is a typical mid-morning meeting. Okay, but so here when a meeting is called for at 11 o'clock, and you tell people just go and take your tea, and then after your tea break we will continue and have lunch, they will ask you, are you sending us off for tea break or lunch break? Okay, because 11 is very close to 1. People are seeing that as a lunch break. And so, Grace and I are still needing to adjust, okay, to realize that it's an earlier rising culture. The day is skewed towards the earlier part of the day. And so if we want to be effective, because we are leaders of ministry here, we have to adjust to what works here. Okay, and so it's not wrong to break for lunch at 12. It's just different. Okay. So that is the first thing that we were taught, thankfully, before we came, into the mission field. And so when we come across new things, we get to learn that, oh, okay, this is our opportunity to learn another way of doing things, as opposed to an opportunity to judge and say, why do these people do what they do the way they do? It's not wrong. It is just different. Let's see if Grace is ready to take us to the second principle.
Okay. The second principle is to keep the main thing. It's very easy for you to be caught up. We are missionaries, but we are also expatriates. So it's very easy to be caught up in the in-between there, Do we interact more with the locals or more with the expatriates? And there's a big Kenyan community here, but most of them are expatriates. And so, like, when we have to make some tough choices, we have to keep reminding ourselves of the reason we are here, our mission here, like we needed to look for a church, and we are trying to find a church. The kids, of course, want the church that's very expatriate, we can now wazungu wengi, more activities, but we didn't come here to just hang out, we also want to meet with locals and be able to preach the gospel, be able to work with all kinds of churches here. And so in decision making as a family, we've had to do that. So like church, we had to compromise and go to a church that has a bit of both. It has an English service, but also a Chichewa service, and a good mix of locals and maybe a few expatriates like ourselves. And so just keeping the main thing, and keeping that in focus, even when we are looking for a house, whatever decision that we make, try and remember why we came here, not to get lost in the, in the expatriate life or in any other thing.
The third principle is that human needs are the same across the globe. Human beings are just human beings. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. It doesn't matter what their surname is. It doesn't matter what they eat. It doesn't matter how they do their weddings. It doesn't matter how they do their funerals. Human beings are just human beings. Their needs are exactly the same. Their challenges are exactly the same. The root cause of human challenges is sin. Okay, like we all know that. And so the challenges you see, whether it is corruption, whether it is hatred, whether it is marriages falling apart, whether it is families that are dysfunctional, whether it is institutions that are not run well, the bottom line of those issues is sin. Okay, the sinfulness of the human heart. And therefore the solution to the problem is also the same. It's Jesus Christ. And that's one of the reasons why you are all at ILU, to be equipped so that you can take this hope and this message that is found in Jesus Christ to all people all over the world. And so we have found that remembering that really helps us, okay, to say that despite our cultural differences, our core needs at the end of the day are the same and our solutions are the same. And therefore, we have had the opportunity to interact with both the international community, like my wife has said, but also the local people. And by just keeping the main thing, and remembering that people's needs are the same, God is giving us amazing fruit as we minister, among locals, but also people from other nations. I'll give the story of one Indian friend that I met. So, we have a favorite pizza place. So, when we need to buy pizza, we go to Pizza Inn. And so the gentleman there, I began to befriend him. And how it started was, I greeted him in the local language, which is Chichewa. Okay, and so I wanted to see if he knows the local language. So he didn't know the local language. And so we challenged each other and said, every time I come for pizza, you and I need to learn the local language. And every time we meet, I will find out how many new words you've learned. And I will also tell you how many new words I've learned. Okay. And so that's how our friendship started. And so we would talk every time I would go to the pizza place, speak one or two Chichewa things, and, on and on. Now, somewhere down the line, he told me something that, really shocked me. And he told me, Robert, I'm very glad that every time you come here, you spare a few minutes to greet me and to talk to me. You are the only friend I have in this entire city of Lilongwe. Okay. Now, I thought he was joking, but this friendship has lasted for more than a year and a half, and I think he recently just left for India, and the one person he called before he left was me, because I really was either his only friend or one of very few friends in the city. And so we did have the opportunity to invite him to visit our house. The day we made that invitation, he was so excited. When I was going to pick him up to bring him to the house, he had 2 other friends ready there to come along with him. So here was me with my 3 Indian friends, bringing them home. So eventually we turned it into some sort of international event, because we invited some American friends, and we also had a Malawian friend. So it was a bit like the United Nations that evening. But just through taking interest in this gentleman and spending a few minutes to talk with him, apparently that opened up a huge door, for us to build a friendship. And because of the friendship, and this is probably one of my regrets, because I had a friendship with this gentleman, I'm sure if I had taken the opportunity to now share the gospel with him, to talk to him about Jesus Christ, he happens to be a Muslim, I am sure he would have listened. And who knows, I may have had the chance to lead him to Christ and probably to disciple him. Now, I didn't get to that point. Life has been very busy. I didn't get to do that intentionally. But I was just amazed at how one little act of kindness, care and concern can open the doors for ministry. And so just remembering that people are the same, okay? I could tell you stories about people I have met in the restaurants, people I've met in shops, people that we've interacted with. We minister among students, we minister to leaders, political leaders, business leaders here. We are working with the churches. Just by taking time to care for people and to be interested in people and to listen to them opens huge doors for ministry. So it's important to remember that people are the same. The human needs are the same everywhere. And you and I have the greatest solution that everyone is looking for. That solution is found in Jesus Christ.
Okay, so in summary, 3 things that we have found helpful when you are ministering cross-culturally is 3 L's: listen, learn, and love. Okay, be ready to be a student. You're a student of a new culture, and it's true, you've been alive for how long you've been alive, and you have your way of doing things, but this is a different place, and you need to learn how they do things. So you ask questions, you spend time with locals intentionally. And I know when we were new here, I actually set aside an afternoon where I'd just go hang out with the women in my neighborhood. If they are removing maize, I'll sit with them and just remove maize. My finger is there blistering, but it's how I will learn how we do things. It's how I will immerse myself into the culture in a small way or big way. Invite them for our children's birthdays, attend theirs, and just become a student of the culture, and just learn to adapt. Like I remember last year, I ran our internship program here. And so last year was the first time that we were relaunching it. And so I came in with my Kenyan internship experience, what has worked at Life Ministry Kenya. But unfortunately, there are some things that did not work very well, you know. And so learning from what did not go well and what works well. So this year we've come back and now contextualized it, put in some things that we think will counter what went wrong last year. And by God's grace, we are seeing much fruit this year. We have some 6 young people that are with us. Last year we started and only 2 remained, you know. And so just keeping on learning, but also loving the people the same way I want to be loved, you know, just the same way, loving the people, loving even enough to speak the language. And you know, we are both Bantus, and your average Kenyan person really with your Swahili, Chichewa is very related to Swahili. But I've learned that people open up to you more when you are not aloof. You know, we could get away with English and with a few Bantu words here and there, you know, but I have seen how everyone lights up, you know, when you speak the language of the heart, speak their language and laugh with them, learn some insider jokes even, and you know, yeah. So listen, learn, and love the people back.
Okay, maybe one sad story of you know, one wrong example that we have seen with one of our friends when it comes to loving the people, loving the culture. Okay, so one of our Kenyan friends came in around the same time with us last year, and he's leading one of the NGOs in the country. Now, he had very many stereotypes about the country and about the people. Now, it is true that Malawi is a smaller economy than Kenya, so the levels of poverty and unemployment are higher. And one of the things that usually goes hand in hand with that is the challenge of witchcraft. Mm-hmm. Now, there is still aspects of that across the country, and many of you would know that our African traditional ways are still very alive and active in many of our countries. But I'm giving that background to say that, so because of that, it is very easy that when you come in, one of the things you can hear is that you can't trust people, that there is witchcraft in the country, that there is, you know, people from other countries are not liked, you know, and all those things can get you very scared. And so our friend chose to take the route of becoming scared. And so he, for the length of time he has lived here, he's been here for a year. I'm not sure if he's still here because he came back home because of COVID. But throughout the year that he stayed here, he practically lived in his Kenyan bubble. So his only friends were fellow Kenyans. Those are the only people he would visit. Those are the only people who would visit his house. He has decided that he will not have any interaction with the locals apart from professional. So at work, he is the boss. He goes in at 8 o'clock, he's out at 5 o'clock. He does what he needs to do, but is not keen on any personal engagement, not keen on making friendships with the locals. He will not even share a cup of tea at the office. Sometimes there are lunches that are cooked communally at the office. He will not eat them. The reason is he is scared that someone might be wanting to poison him, or you know, someone might be wanting to do this and that. And so, you know, we would listen to him and just conclude that we don't want this kind of life. You know, we don't want this kind of life that is controlled by fear, the kind of life that has concluded that Kenya is probably a superior country to Malawi. And the ways of the Kenyan people are better than the ways of anyone else. And, you know, opening yourself up to the people in the country is setting yourself up for trouble. I think he has ended up living a very small life that is wrapped around himself and his Kenyan friends and his Kenyan ways. Okay. And we can imagine that the impact that he is going to have during the length of time that he's going to be here is going to be very limited, because for you to be able to have a significant, meaningful impact, you have to interact with the people, you have to get into their lives, you have to get into their situations and allow yourself to be an instrument that God will use to be able to impact and empower people. And so relationships are the key. And so when you close that door, then you really have closed yourself up from the kind of impact that you could have. Okay, so those 3 L's again, I hope you captured them. Be willing to listen, be willing to learn, and be willing to love. We want to stop there and now see if you have any specific questions that you'd like for us to address. So maybe for the next 15 minutes or so, and then we'll close it. We'll ask at that point to be excused because we need to move on to another meeting.
Thank you very much, Robert and Grace, for the insights. So I'll request the class to interact with our speakers today.
One question though. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really inspiring. You said you have 3 children. I'm interested to know how have your children coped with the change, and what did you do to kind of prepare them or help them get along with the transfer now from Kenya to Malawi. Yeah.
Thank you, Benjamin. I think to effectively use our time, we will take the questions in groups of sets of 2 or 3. So we've taken note of that. We can take another 2.
Okay. Thank you, Mwalimu. Yeah. Hello. Yes, can you hear me, Mwalimu? Is it me or?
Yes.
Hello? It's me.
Aisha, yes.
Yes. Mwalimu, first of all, I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Balusi for the presentation they've just concluded.
Okay.
To me, first of all, I want to say this couple are the best in marketing because they've really marketed the country. I didn't know Malawi, but now I'm like, I should visit Malawi. So that is one thing that I had really stand out. And for the principal, I've also learned something that we don't have to travel maybe to learn on how other people or other countries are doing in terms of culture. But the more we interact with our good friends from China, from other countries across the globe, then we also learn at the same time about our cultures and other people's culture. So that's what has really come out very clear. And for that, I want to say thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Balusi. Maybe I will excuse myself because I'm going for another meeting. You all have a good day.
Okay. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I'll write you an email.
Thank you, Mwalimu.
Okay, Asante.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question. I have a question.
Yes. Is that Joseph? Or?
Yes.
Okay, Joseph.
Yes.
Yeah. Let Joseph first finish.
Yes. Yes. My question is, first of all, I'm sorry that I was in a matatu. I could not communicate with you guys, but finally I arrived here in the library. Now I can talk. Okay. My question is, I have learned a lot, first of all, about Malawi. I've come to know that it's good to listen, learn, and love the people in order to get into, to be a student of the culture, in order to get to understand them better. Now, my question
is breaking.
Am I breaking again? Am I still breaking?
Okay, I think you're okay.
Okay. So now my question is, first of all, I will say I've learned a lot in this particular intercultural ministry in Malawi from our family brothers from Kenya who are there now. But now I want to ask, they mainly talk about the funeral aspect of the culture. They talk about a relationship on how to interact with the people. And they talk about being there because of they are doing the Great Commission as a life ministry in Africa. But I would like to know what area of specification, what are they really doing? Because I wanted to know what ministry are they really doing, engage in, because they talk about the church there, they are found where they fellowship. But what are they really doing? Because we as missionaries or people want to go to the field as missionaries want to know from their experience what they are doing in the field, so that we can get experience from that in order to apply in other areas also of ministry. I know, I understand we have learned a lot concerning interaction of friendship, relationship, student being in the culture, which is different from yours. But what are they really doing there in the field so that we can get how to also apply them in our own time to go to a place like that? Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah.
That is well noted. Do we have one more?
Maybe
okay.
Those ones.
Yeah. Okay, so my wife will talk about our children, then I'll talk about our specific ministry engagement.
Yeah.
Okay, so about our children, the truth is, when God put them in our family, that's what I kept telling them. He had better also give them the grace to move with us and, follow with us where the Lord leads, because it wasn't easy. We have 3. One of them really struggled because in the estate, she had a strong network of friends. So she has many friends, after school activities with her friends. And so it was difficult to be moving. But, the truth is she's our child. God has put her in our lives. And so we were praying with our children as we prepared to move. We also tried to involve them in meeting our partners. We have partners that support our ministry. And so we tried to involve them in the visits. We tried to involve them in decision making. We prayed, one of the prayers we prayed was for them to get friends that are their age in our neighborhood. And that has come to be. They have friends in our neighborhood. They also have friends in the Kenyan community. So in the sense that when they need somebody who speaks Swahili, someone who can play kati, they find someone like that. But also they have been privileged to learn many Malawian games as they interact with their friends. There's a different kati here. What is their kati called? I don't know. Anyway, but I think it has been good for them. We also involved them in the church, but we let them know that eventually mom and dad have to make the final decision. Like I said, they would have preferred a more funky church where you have movies and popcorn night, but we also have to balance that. So yes, for the children, yeah, they also miss their relatives back home a lot, and I should have shared that as one of the challenges that we have to face, because life moves on. The opportunity cost by you coming to Malawi, then you're not in Kenya, so you won't attend weddings, you won't be there for funerals, you won't be there for birthdays. Thank God for Zoom. Sometimes in this COVID season, there people have done a lot more Zoom. There was even a birthday of their cousin on Zoom. But yeah, it's a balance there. But all the same, I think their experience is richer for having had a cross-cultural experience at their age. That's what I think. But generally, we've adjusted. We are thriving. They are keeping rabbits. They are keeping chickens, things that they would not have done in our small estate in Nairobi. So again, the balance there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so really just praying for them, but also involving them. Our children their ages are 14, 12, and 12. So they are old enough to be engaged in discussions, in decisions. So involving them in the journey and so that they feel they're part of it. So it was very interesting about 2 weeks ago when one of our daughters, in fact, the very same one who struggled when we needed to move, she was now telling us, I think I just might get married to a Malawian. Now, this is a 12-year-old, so don't take it too seriously. But to us, that was probably a message to say that it seems like they have really gone through the adjustment journey to the level where they now feel like this is home, to the level where they are thinking this may be home way longer than we intend to be here. Okay, let me move on to our ministry assignment. So Joseph, we serve with Life Ministry, which is internationally known as Campus Crusade for Christ. You already know a little bit about Life Ministry because ILU is part of Campus Crusade for Christ around the world. Okay, so our specific ministry, we are a ministry that focuses on helping fulfill the Great Commission. And our areas of focus are evangelism and discipleship. So we do evangelism and discipleship, and we have 4 priority areas. The first one is students in universities and high schools. The second one is leaders in the marketplace. So business leaders, government leaders, all leaders in the marketplace. The third one is resourcing the church in the areas of evangelism, discipleship, and church planting. So God has blessed Life Ministry with many resources for evangelism, discipleship, and church planting. Many of you would be familiar with the Jesus film, The 4 Spiritual Laws, which is an evangelism booklet. And we recently have a church planting training, so we equip churches to be able to plant more churches. And then most recently, we are working in the digital space. So equipping the church to be able to reach out to people using social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, and mainstream media, radio, TV, etc. So those are the things that Life Ministry does. So that is what we are involved with on a day-to-day basis. We lead a team of about 10 staff members, and all of them are working in those areas. So some of them go to universities every day of the week. Some, and soon we are hoping to start the high school ministry side of things. There's another arm that is connecting with business leaders, political leaders, seeking to take the gospel there, because leaders of course are the most influential people in society, but many times they are also among the least reached. Okay, so taking the gospel to them and providing an environment for them to also be discipled. And then we have another team that focuses on just working with churches and providing trainings for evangelism, discipleship, and church planting. So helping the existing churches to grow by reaching out to more people, but also to plant new churches. So we partner with churches to plant churches across the country. And then I've talked about the digital ministry also. So that is the ministry that we oversee as we lead Life Ministry here in Malawi.
And so like yesterday, Robert spent the afternoon at Transworld Radio discussing with them how they can give us a radio program where we can be doing our follow-up, like as a radio lesson. So just breaking it down to what does it mean daily life. Yeah, it means we are doing discipleship and we are looking for all avenues to get it to reach where the people are and help them form discipleship groups. So yeah, breaking it down to day, that's how it looks like.
Okay, any other question?
I've got another question.
Yes, Sylvester.
Yeah, do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my questions, I've got 2 questions for this wonderful couple.
Mm-hmm.
First, I want to thank God for the ministry. I can see the ministry is in their hearts, and may God help them in their ministry. So my first question is, I just read somewhere in a magazine about Malawi. I learned that Malawi has the largest number of Christians. I don't know whether it is correct or it is true or what, maybe they can let me know, because I don't know. And the other question is about the ministry they tackle about worship. Do you worship on one particular church every Sunday, or you keep on worshiping in different churches in the country? That is my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvester, for the 2 questions and for your research on Malawi, the warm heart of Africa. Let me just find out if there is any other question. If there is, I think we'll take one last one. So we'll respond to this as a final set of questions.
Yeah, just
Yes, I have one.
Is that Cornelius?
I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask Mwalimu, we have a couple in our church.
Cornelius,
They were telling us that, yes,
can you
can
type?
hear me?
You can type.
maybe
If it's not a long
Okay.
question, because we can't hear you very well. Just type from the chat, and then we can see. And then I think Balusi will
All right.
just type for us. Thank you. And maybe Balusi, maybe you could be answering the other question because of time. I can see your time is far gone.
I wanted to just ask one question as he conclude.
Okay.
My question is just about asking them, now that they have been in Malawi, this is, you said for 1 year now, right? Or almost 2 years. So for the short period you have been there, how do you foresee your life there at Malawi? Do you intend to stay there for more years till retirement, or you feel like you are already feeling like bored? Please tell us, encourage us to know if getting used to another culture can transform someone to become a member of that community and intend to live there even for the rest of his life. Thank you.
And maybe also, I would like to know, of course, when God calls you, you go where God leads you. But what comfort did you find? I remember you mentioned you talked to a few people. And did that help? Would you advise somebody to first link up with somebody in the place where you've been sent, or would you just go?
Okay, let me respond to Benjamin's question. Wow, when we were preparing to come, I thought a lot about Sarah and Abraham, that Abraham just woke her up and said, my dear, we are going. Where? I don't know, And so I think it's good to know. Okay, I think it was helpful, especially for planning purposes. And we are in the information age. It's easy to get information, and so I think it is helpful to know. Yeah, though again, as you're saying, you may meet people that have a very negative viewpoint who may discourage you, but what helped is that I had already said, I am going, Lord. Even if we are going to live wherever we will live, I am going, but I just need to know how to prepare, and of course how to worry a little. Then I pray, just being a normal person through the process that you are uprooting and going to relocate somewhere else. I think it is good to know.
Okay, so in other words, it's a balance between spiritual preparation and practical preparation. So yes, you need to hear from God, and of course, once you hear from God, then you obey. And He's the one who will encourage you and give you comfort for the journey ahead. But secondly, there are many practical implications. Okay, you have to find out their immigration requirements, and then when you're moving with your family, you have a spouse to think about, you have children to think about, you have to think about school, you have to think about medical care. There's many practical things that you have to think about. So it is true, you need the preparation on both sides. I'm going to take Cornelius and Sylvester's question together because they are related. So the spiritual demographics of Malawi. So first of all, Malawi, like many other countries in Southern and Eastern Africa, we are what you would call Christian countries in the sense that we have a majority Christian population. So Malawi, just like Kenya, the statistics say that we are approximately 80% Christian. Now, you and I have had that before because in Kenya we also talk about being 80% Christian. But when it comes on the ground, when you are looking for the impact of the 80% Christianity, sometimes you have major questions. When you see the levels of corruption, when you see the many things that are not going right in the country, you begin to ask yourself, you know, this 80%, what does it really mean? Okay, so you have to really break it down and just find out that many people are professing Christians, but a majority of the population don't really understand what it means to be a Christian. Some of them think they are Christians just because they have a Christian name, like Benjamin. Okay, others, you know, just because their families go to church or they've been going to church all their lives, and they think that is enough to make them a Christian. You know, some it's because they're involved in church activities. Okay, so there is a lot of misconceptions about what it really means to be a Christian. And so you'll agree with me that even back in Kenya, when you're asking yourself, what percentage of the population are true followers of Jesus Christ? You'll agree with me that that number is way lower. Okay, it could be, I don't know, 10, 20. My own guess is that the best it can be is somewhere around 30%. Okay, many others are people who just profess but are not really have no proper understanding of what it means to be a follower of Christ. Therefore, it is pretty similar on this side. Okay, so, you know, we say that we are 80% Christian here in Malawi, but you come across very many of the challenges that we've talked about. I'll mention one or two. Corruption is a big challenge here.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Me too, me too.
Sorry, Joseph, you will need to mute.
Yes.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Okay, so we wrestle with many of the similar challenges here. Corruption is one big one, which points to, you know, just a big challenge in terms of people's values and convictions and beliefs. African traditional religion is a big challenge here. And like I said earlier, even when you look at Kenya, you will see that some parts of our country, especially where there's lots of poverty, witchcraft tends to also be a common practice there. So it is true that there's quite a bit of witchcraft, you know, in the country. We get to hear about different manifestations of that. People are afraid of all kinds of things. You know, someone went to the witch and they did this to me, therefore my family is not prospering because of 1, 2, 3. I mean, you get to hear all those stories many times. But I need to put that in context. When you hear about, you know, I don't know where my brother Joseph comes from. Joseph, do you come from one of the West African countries? Okay, thank you. Joseph comes from Cameroon. We lived in
Nigeria. From Cameroon.
Okay, thank you very much, Joseph. I wanted to talk a little bit about Nigeria because we lived in Nigeria for about a year. And it is true, you see from Nigerian movies, you see a lot of talk about witchcraft, for example. And the truth is there's quite a bit of witchcraft in Nigeria. But to just put things in context, we lived in Nigeria for 9 whole months and we never got to interact directly with witchcraft. Okay? And so sometimes what you see through media, or whether it's mainstream media or social media, sometimes it may shine the spotlight on something that happens in a certain section of the population, but it is made to look as if that is what happens with everyone everywhere. Okay, so I hope you're getting me, that, you know, they may be shining the spotlight on what is happening amongst 1% of the population or 10% of the population, but when the media shines a spotlight there, it then sounds as if that's what happens every day. Okay, so in response to the witchcraft question, the answer is yes. It is there, and it is a challenge that needs to be addressed, but it's not necessarily, you know, the thing that is happening with everyone everywhere. So Cornelius, you asked, how do you cope with that in ministry? The answer is, you just have to teach the word of God, which is able to open people's eyes, to remove them from darkness and deliver them from any chains that are holding them. And so I would say that for here in Malawi, just like many other places in Africa, our big challenge is in discipleship. We have to teach the good news of Jesus Christ and let people know who Jesus Christ is and that he is able to transform their lives. But after they have given their lives to Christ, we need to really teach them to really understand in the one true God. When they understand who the one true God is and they learn to trust in him, they will not be going to look for solutions elsewhere. I think one of the big challenges in Africa is that you have people who go to church on Sunday, but within the week, you're finding them going to consult some witch somewhere, or, you know, things like that. And that just tells you that this is someone who does not understand who God is, who does not understand the power of God, who does not understand what God is able to do for them. And those are problems that are only solved through the discipleship process. And so I think we have addressed the question. The final one from Sylvester was about our church. So we are members of a local church, and that's very important for all of us. And especially when you're a missionary, it's important that you have a home church where you're part of the congregation, you are fed, your children have the opportunity to go to Sunday school, to be discipled, and all of that. But you also have a supportive community, a cell group, just friendships that are able to be a supportive Christian environment that you need, that all of us need as believers. So we are part of that. But the nature of our assignment is that we lead an organization that is resourcing all churches. We work for an interdenominational organization. And so part of our role is to serve other churches beyond our local church. So once in a while, we would be invited to preach in another church, or to offer a training in another church, or to run conferences in other churches. So we do that, but we do have a home church, which is our base.
There was one question from Joseph. I don't know if he's still with us. He asked if we will stay for long term. The truth is, we are here on assignment from Life Ministry to help raise laborers here in Malawi, Christian laborers, Life Ministry Malawi staff. And so our tenure is at most 5 years, unless the Lord wills otherwise. Yeah, but for now, that is our assignment. When that is done, we move on to the next assignment. But it's very tempting. It's a tempting place to want to pitch camp. Yeah.
Well, over to you, Justus. I think we can, and would love to be excused as soon as possible.
Okay, fine. Just 2 minutes or so. So thank you very much, Robert and Grace. I think Malawi making you good, because you look very young. I think it's that, those greens, the blackjack. I think you look very young. Thank you very much for the time. I think we've all learned a lot. And I'm sure when the corona opens, I'm sure you'll be organizing some missions once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can always connect, even if it's not this year or next year, but whenever there's an opening, I think we keep connected. So I'll ask Sylvester to bless this couple and pray for their ministry.
Okay, let's pray together. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come to you at this moment. We praise you, we honor you, we glorify your name. Simply because, Lord, you have been with us since we started this fellowship. And Lord, we have heard from you through your servants, the couple. Father, in the name of Jesus, we bless this couple and continue showering them with your spirit so that they can work according to your will. Thank you for each one of us who has been in this meeting. Lord, we pray that you continue teaching us what you want us to understand, so that as we move to the ministry to serve you, we are fully equipped so that we can serve you according to your will. Thank you for each one of us, oh Lord. As we depart, oh Lord, can you tie our spirits? And although we are going to be separated in the bodies, Father, let us remain in you in spirit. Guide us all and be with us. And if it pleases you, oh Lord, as we plan to meet next time, Lord, be with us. All we pray, trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
But Lucy and Grace,
Amen.
you can leave, but the rest of us just give me a few minutes before we leave. So, but Lucy and Grace, you can leave now. But thank you so much and greet the children.
All right, thank you, Justus. Thank
Bye.
you,
God
everyone.
bless you. It's very nice seeing you people.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. God bless you.
Okay.
Bye.
For the rest of us, I just wanted to keep you to this kind of teaching is important for me to know that you people are benefiting. So I want just to hear one or two things you learned today, because I want to know that you're picking something which is helpful to you. And I'll be doing this almost every time, so that because it's a different way of teaching.
Yeah.
So just quickly, let me hear whether you picked some new information.
Go first, Mwalimu.
Yes. Cornelius,
Yes.
we cannot hear you.
Okay. Let me try.
Just next to your microphone. Speak next to your microphone.
All right. I'm saying.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, you can hear you.
All right. For me, I have learned the three things which they insisted on. That is listen, learn, and love.
Yes.
Because I happened to use it somewhere and it really is working. That is one. Then number two is the same way they are saying that it's sometimes hard to get the percentages of the Christian numbers as accorded to different countries. Yeah, so that is another observation which I caught, that it's everywhere has its own things, though almost similar things happen in most of the countries around Africa. And thank you, Mwalimu, for inviting them to take us through this, putting in consideration for the last week's class also. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Benjamin?
Yeah, I enjoyed the class. It was very enlightening, very motivational, and also inspirational, very educative. The principles that they talked about were very good. But when you go to a place and you see things, it's not wrong. It's just different. So that was a very good thing to note. That as you interact with the people cross culturally, that sometimes they'll do things that may rub you the wrong way. But it's not that it's wrong. It's just that it's different for you. It's normal for them, but it's different for you. So you should learn to adapt to those things. And also when they said, keep the main thing the main thing. And when you go to a mission field, let the main thing still remain the main field. Remind yourself that you are there, first of all, as an ambassador of Christ. Remind yourself of what you need. As what they were speaking, they would have chosen to go to posh other upmarket churches, but they decided to mix and intermingle with the locals and the culture there, and thereby interacting more instead of just putting themselves in a bubble like the person they said made the mistake. And so that keeping the main thing, and also realizing that all over the world that human needs are the same. Human needs are the same, as in we live in different places, but we need that love, we need that relationship with one another. And our flaw is also the same. We are flawed by sin. And so we might be living in separate time zones or separate places, but we have the same kind of needs, and God is ready for us. And of course, the listen, learn, and what was that about? Listen, learn, and what? And love. Yes, listen, learn, and love. So those are also good highlights, good lessons that they have taught us today. So I'm grateful. Thankful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Sylvester?
Okay, I can say our time together with those couple is very encouraging. Their teachings are very inspiring. I've learned a lot. I think you will bring them again next time if it pleases you. And something I've learned from them, there's one lesson I did not understand. I did not know. We in Nairobi, we have tendencies, especially in neighborhood, especially when you are plot. Sometimes you don't want to talk to your neighbor just next door because you don't want him to know your problems inside. But sometimes we have a lot of hidden problems. So it is good to be open and talk to people. It's good to interact. Interaction, I've learned about interaction is the key to communication. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I'll remind you to write your the weekly learning journals. I think I've seen a number of you have done that, and I'm going to review them, and where I need to comment, I'll comment before the end of the week. So even for today, before you forget what we've learned today, I want you to write the learning journal and send it to me for this week. Then I'll be in touch with our friends, the one who taught us last week, because I'd like us to go to that Hindu museum. Today I'm going to town. I also want to see whether I can make an appointment, because from next week, maybe for the next 2 weeks or so, you're going to learn about Muslim evangelism. So I would also want to see whether we can have is it called Jamia Mosque in town, whether they can open and we can visit the mosque and ask them some questions just to understand more about Islam. The thing with Islam is that most Muslims are all around us. Even maybe some of us have relatives who are Muslims, and it's a religion which is really growing very, very fast and has a lot of influence. And we need to know how to live with them, at the same time learn how to share the good news with them. Remember, as much as we are talking about Hindus and all that, Muslims religion has many similar things with Christianity. Of course, our differences are very different, and that's why we always find ourselves very different with Muslims. So we will be learning about Muslim evangelism for the next few weeks. So be prepared for that, and be prepared with questions, and we'll see how that will go. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm really encouraged by your patience and your diligence, and I'm looking forward to us all learning together. So have a good day and a good week. God bless you.
Malim.
Yes.
Malim, I've got a question.
Yes.
Since last class I was not there.
Yes.
Do I need also to submit the journal?
Yes, I will help you by I'm recording all our classes, so okay. I will give it to you. I will upload it to the learning, and then you listen, and then now you can do the journal.
Okay, thank you, Malim.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to leave and stop the Zoom. So enjoy
Okay.
and have a good week.
Enjoy.